What's up, everybody? This is Spike with Thrash Time. I'm here with Bobby, Joey, Ebola, and the Children Macnuggits.
Hey.
Do you want to introduce yourselves and say what you do with the band?
My name is Corbett.
And my name's Dan.
And we are Bobby, Joey, Ebola, and the Children Macnuggits.
So I noticed you got some extra people on your albums. Yeah, I want to explain kind of how that works with the group.
Well, we've on and off for 15 years. We've played over 1,000 shows, just me and Dan. But when we go into the studio, I don't know if you've seen us live, we try to convey like a big sound. So all of those, the orchestra, if you will, or the band, we actually try to invite a lot of our talented friends into the studio with us to try to make these songs in our head for the fun of it.
Yeah, the drum solo is implied live.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people can kind of imagine along with us the bigness of what we're doing, and in the studio we sort of go wild and
violins and drums and
Yeah, I mean, the last album, originally we were like, oh yeah, let's do an acoustic album, and it just grew and grew, and we kept bringing in friends.
Accordion, banjo, flute, trumpet.
So you said you've been together for like 15 years now. What got the band going?
Girl. There was a friend of ours had a band that was playing a birthday party, and they canceled, and it was for this girl that I liked's birthday party. And she was like, oh, I don't have a band for my party. And I was like, I have a band. And I didn't. And I knew that I think the fuzz had just broke up.
Well, I had just gotten out of high school, and I'd been traveling around for a while. And I got back, and I was always wandering around Knoll with my guitar, and I'd stop by his house because it was on the way home from school. So we started hanging out in my senior year. And so later, at the end of that summer after I graduated, I was hanging out with him, and one day I come over, and he says, hey, you want to start a band? I said, okay, sure.
We're playing this Sunday, and she called my bluff. She says, no, well, if you have a band, you can play. She knew I didn't have a band, and so we met up and we played some songs together, and
we wrote
history was made.
Yeah, we wrote 2 or 3 songs that first time, and pulled together a couple of covers, and we actually had a bunch of people playing with us at the party.
Which was the McNuggets is implied, We actually had a drummer that was playing tuba at the same time he was playing drums. And a couple people playing guitar that were wearing like chicken heads who did not know how to play guitar.
Yeah, it was a total beautiful mess.
It was a train wreck.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we've always the name Bobby, Joey, Ebola, and the Children Macnuggets. There's no Bobby, Joe, Ebola. There's no Pink Floyd. There's no Leonard Skinner. There's no Steely Dan. It's like There's the idea is that it's not just us. There's anybody can be a McNugget, I guess, unless you're a dick.
Now, when I saw you guys out in Stockton with Scotscake, you guys played that set acoustically.
We did.
Is that a common thing for you guys, or is this...
Yeah, I think on our last tour, not this tour so much. This tour we did a lot of the soundboard, microphone kind of stuff. But our last tour, we would find ourselves, playing basement shows and, different places, and people were really happy to get out of the heat and say, hey, how about everybody meet up in the living room? Or we started as a living room band. We started as writing our songs and playing for our roommates, our stoned roommates, So that's almost like better for us,
We've learned to deal with microphones and PAs and all that sort of stuff, but it's not what we do best. I think we work better with direct experience, and so if people are within hearing distance and it's not like there's anything wrong with a PA or anything, but it's more intimate and more direct if you're able to hear our voices coming out of our mouths. And it's really fun because we can do things with the audience that you can't do when there's that separation.
Yeah, there's a restriction, you know. That's why it's so great to see Rashad from Tornado Rider running around with that remote mic, you know, like, or the remote cello, you know. I've always the remote mic's always been a fear of mine because Garth Brooks has used it so much, you know. But then seeing him use it is like there's like this freedom involved, and we could do that acoustic. We can run around and, you know, have fun and get up all in people's faces and shit. You know.
So now I saw you guys at the end of the last tour you had, and you're on this one now. What's the next step for Bobby Joe?
We are getting home and finishing the last 4 videos out of 13, one for each on our last record, F. We're recording 20 new originals and about 12 cover songs for Assorted Records, 7 inches EPs, and a cover album called Theft. The Meal Deal with the Devil EP is a read-along story songbook. Like in the old days, you hear the noise, you turn the page. We are looking to tour the States again next year and also try to go to Europe for the first time. So.
I know you mentioned that you got some ties with the punk rock scene. We talked about the pirate punks. You want to kind of explain to people the history you have involved with all of that? Because it seems pretty deep.
Sure.
Sure. Essentially what was going on was at the time that we started, you have to understand something about the East Bay, where we went to Pinole Valley High School, which 2 of the members of Green Day had gone to, and they were like the guys that made it big and like got out of town, and for us they were like people that we looked up to because they made it out doing what they loved. But I was underage, like, so we couldn't really play in bars very easily, and the only place to play really was Gilman. But Gilman, because for the first time punk was marketable, all of a sudden you had all these kids showing up from the suburbs. Like, for the first time you could buy spikes at Hot Topic, you know.
So Gilman was protecting itself by telling us that we weren't punk and we couldn't play it.
They sort of circled the wagons, and there was this sort of explosion of different cores, whereas it used to be, you know, all kinds of music would play there. You know, it wasn't designed to be a strictly punk venue.
It was the alternative. It is called, still to this day, the Alternative Music Foundation.
Yeah.
You know, eventually, you know, over time, we wound up, you know, becoming like local headliners, and so did our friends and stuff like that, known as the Geeks. You know, Marcus, the pirate punk head of crew number 1, did this thing called the Pirate Punks Picnic, which, just like our Geek Fest, you know, our reaction to not being able to play during the big Green Day boom, you know, the punk clubs, which was the big thing at the time, was to go out, start a hotline where people could call and come play this thing called Geek Fest, where we had a generator, and once a month, all ages and free were the only rules, really. And
very, very gradually, we built up a group of friends. Like we'd have a show, and we wouldn't even know what the bands would sound like, because it was just kind of first come, first serve. Like, someone calls our hotline, Bad Smut, and we would just book them. So we'd have 10 or 12 bands, and you know, maybe 1 or 2 of them would be really, really good, and then a lot of them would be kind of bad. But over time, we had people who just showed up for the experience of the festival, and we'd see a band and go, "Oh my God, you guys are awesome! You guys are kindred spirits and friends." And
shit filter. You know, we wound up finding peers.
And
you know,
and people who didn't like the festival wouldn't come back, but there were people that did come back, and over time we built up a group of friends. And at the same time, we were putting out our own records, and those bands that were our friends started asking us for help putting out records. So sort of by default, we ended up doing a record label, Spam Records. So between Spam Records and Geek Fest and touring around with Bobby Joe Ebola, we ran into a lot of people who became really good friends, and some of those people ended up booking at clubs and helping us out, and before we knew it, we were playing slightly bigger shows, and that was
enough to where
weird.
Folks, you know, like Green Day, who were like went to our high school, and they were, had been ostracized from Gilman. They'd come home and they'd be like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" And we're like, "How the fuck should we know what's going on in punk?" And you don't really know you're kind of changing things when you're in the thick of it sometimes. At the same time, Marcus the Anarchist was doing the pirate punk picnics, and it was the same tenets. It was all ages, free, and a generator. Yeah. And he was across the bay in San Francisco, and we were in the East Bay. And
so we started collaborating.
And we started collaborating on shows, and then enough to where we did a big. Was it the '87 band one? Was the? To celebrate a year of doing Geek Fest, we did a camp out. It was a 3-day festival with like 40 bands, all of whom were Geek Fest alumni. And after that, between that and the second year camp out, we ran into Marcus and heard about his stuff. And for the second year, we decided to collaborate. And he booked half the bands, and we booked the other half. And that was really fun. So we did it again. And the third year, we did the Week of Geek. We called it the Week of Geek, but Marcus made all the flyers. So he coined the phrase Libertatia after the pirate colony in Madagascar, and that autonomous zone.
Yeah, and that was essentially the first Libertatia, and it's still going on today, of course. And yeah, I mean we stayed pretty busy doing festivals, and it may have detracted from what we were doing as a band, just because we were so busy with putting on shows and doing the label and the band all at once.
That's kind of why we broke up, was because we were taking on like too much community. I mean, I don't want to say like there is such thing, but when you're putting out records for like 30 plus bands other than your own, and you're concentrating on getting this whole thing together, the focus kind of comes off of what you're doing.
It was overwhelming, for sure.
So, anyways, yeah, I mean, if you go to Wikipedia and look up Geek Fest, you can see a lot of the history and the catalog of Spam records and all that stuff.
When you guys got that history and you're still rocking it out, I mean, it was great seeing you guys here. It was great out in Stockton. I look forward to seeing a bunch more, and I appreciate the show and the interview, you guys. Really.
Thank you, Spike.
Thank you very much.
Thrash Time.
Hell yeah. For everybody out there, this is Spike, Thrash Time, Bobby Joe Ebola. Check them out.